All right, today we are looking at adding and subtracting integers and decimals. So that means working with negative numbers. So we have some steps to help you with adding and subtracting. Before we do that, I do want to remind you that if you see a positive sign and a negative sign right next to each other, you can combine those into a negative sign. Or think of it like a minus sign. Instead of having two signs next to each other, when you see a plus and a minus, a positive and a negative, that results in a negative. If you have a negative sign and a negative sign next to each other, you can combine those to result in a positive sign or a plus sign. Okay, we'll look at an example of what I mean by that in just a minute. Okay, if you see two signs right next to each other, always rewrite your equation. You don't want a math sentence that has two signs like this right next to each other. That makes it confusing for us. And I have noticed that it helps if you write the positive number first in your math sentence, but that's not a big deal. Now, if when you start doing your math, if your two numbers have different signs, so let's say you have a positive number and a negative number, they're different signs, then that means you subtract. Okay, you subtract them, and then your answer is the sign of the larger number. Now, if your two numbers have the same sign, so you have two negative numbers, then that means you're gonna actually add the numbers and you keep that sign. You keep that negative sign in your answer. So if you have two negative numbers, you are adding them and you're getting a negative answer. So let's put that into practice. Number one, I see right away, I have two signs next to each other. I have a positive sign and a negative sign, and our rule says a positive and a negative makes a negative. So we rewrite this. That -2 comes down, this becomes a negative or a minus sign, and then 21. So this is our new math sentence. Now we do that math. Our numbers, we have -2, -21. Those are the same. So I'm gonna write same, they're the same sign. And our rule right here says same sign means you add the numbers. So I'm gonna write that, I'm gonna say add, and keep that sign. So I'm gonna keep that negative sign. So I'm just gonna put a negative to remind me. So I'm gonna add those numbers. I can add that in my head. 21 plus 2, 21, 22, 23. So my answer is 23, but it's -23 because I keep that sign. Okay, and if you think about it, if you have two negatives and then you have 21 negatives, look at all that you have. You actually have 23 negatives, which is why that's our answer. So there's a visual for you if that helps. All right, number two, this says 7 plus 14. Now that's just a normal math problem that you should know how to do, but these rules still work for that. This 7 is positive. There may not be a positive sign in front of it, but it's +7, and this is +14. So they're the same sign, both positive. So our rule says same sign means you add, and then you keep that sign. We're gonna keep it positive, which is what you would do if you saw that before today. So we add 7 plus 14, and if you wanna do that in your head or with your fingers or actually add it up, it does not matter. You can do that. You would get 21, and it would be +21. So I'm gonna box that in. I need to box that one in. Okay, number three, we don't have any signs next to each other like we did for this one, so we can just dive right on in. We have -2, +25. All right, different signs. We have a negative and a positive, so I'm gonna write different. And our rule says different signs means you subtract the numbers. So I need to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So which number is larger? Is 2 or is 25 larger? 25 is larger, 25 is positive. So my answer is positive. So now we do the math, we subtract. Now we always have to subtract with the bigger number on top. So I'm gonna have to put 25 and then subtract 2 and then go from there. So then that's 23, positive 23. Number 4, oh, I have 2 signs right next to each other. We don't like that, we need to clean it up. A positive and a negative, that first bullet point, a positive and a negative results in a negative. So I can rewrite this as 3 negative or minus 17. And now we look at our numbers. 3 is positive. If you don't see a sign in front of it, it's positive. 17 is negative. So we have a positive and a negative. That's different. So we have different signs. Our rule says different signs means you subtract. So I'm gonna subtract. And you take the sign of the larger number. Okay, which number is larger, 3 or 17? 17 is larger, so that's the negative number. My answer will be negative. Now we subtract. 17 minus 3, that is 14. So my answer is negative 14 because I'm taking the sign of the larger number. Okay, number 5, we have 32 minus 45. Now you may think, is this a normal subtraction problem? No, because if you have 32 and you take away 45, you can't really do that with your fingers because you go into the negatives. So let's still follow the same rules. 32 is a positive number. 45 has that negative in front of it, so it's a negative sign. Positive, negative, different. So that means we subtract. And then which number is bigger? That one, and that's negative. And now we actually subtract. Bigger number on top, minus. And we get 13, so negative 13. All right, now we have negative 12 minus negative 31. There are 2 negative signs right there. Let's clean it up. Negative 12. 2 negatives result in a positive 31. And now we look at our numbers. Negative 12, positive 31. That's different. Our rules say different sign means you subtract. Which number is bigger? 31 is bigger. That's positive. My answer is positive. All right, let's subtract 31 minus 12. I do have to borrow on this one. So that's 2, 11, and then after subtracting, you get 19. So positive 19. Okay, number 7, negative 43 minus 76. Don't need to clean it up, just need to circle my numbers. Negative, negative. They're both negative, they're the same. Same sign means you add and keep that negative sign. So now we add 76 plus 43 is 119. So negative 119. Okay, number 8, this is the last one I'm gonna do with you, then I will have you do the rest. This one is a little tricky because look at how many numbers there are. We're just gonna still follow our steps. We're just gonna go one number at a time. Clean that up. We don't like the 2 signs next to each other. So negative 7, a negative and a negative is a positive. 14, and then that minus 6. Let's just go from left to right. Let's look at just these. We have negative 7, positive 14. They are different. I'm gonna abbreviate, I'm just gonna put different. That means we subtract. I'm abbreviating again, subtract, and the 14 is bigger, 14 is positive, that answer will be positive. So we subtract 14 minus 7. I know that one in my head, that's 7. So I have positive 7 left of just that, but I have to bring this guy down. Now it says minus 6. And, lucky for us, 7 minus 6 is a straightforward problem. 7 minus 6 is 1. And there's our answer. Okay, I've done a variety of problems. I do want you to do the rest, and then we can check our answers. Okay, so here are the answers for the remainder of this page. I do want to point out just kind of a goofy one, or one that you may have questioned yourself on. Right here towards the bottom, we had negative 14 minus negative 14. Cleaned up the sign, those two negatives make a positive. So negative 14 plus 14. They are different signs, so that means we're gonna subtract. But then when you ask yourself which one is bigger, you may have gotten confused. That's because when you do 14 minus 14, when you subtract them, you get 0. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, it's just 0. 0 isn't positive or negative. So if that one tricked you, that's why. All right, so now we're gonna flip the paper around, and we're still doing the same thing. We still have our negatives, our integers, but actually we're including decimals now. So we call these rational numbers. So let's just review how to add decimals, then we'll still get to use those integer rules from the front side. So review of decimals. We need to write the decimals so that the decimal points line up vertically. The decimal points have to line up. Then you're just gonna add like normal, using the same rules that we were doing on the front side. Check the signs, check are they the same sign, different sign, and go from there. Then you place the decimal point in the answer so that it lines up vertically with the points in the problem. So all the decimals have to line up, it goes straight down. I will show you that on this problem. So here we have 23 and 85 hundredths plus 1 and 64 hundredths. So this is just a normal, they're both positive, traditional decimal problem. We want to line up the decimals. I'm going to use this grid paper. This is super helpful to making sure we do know how to line them up. So I will show an example using this. I'm going to take the bigger number, honestly the longer number, 23 and 85 hundredths, and I'm going to put that right here. And I'm going to make its own box for that decimal to really emphasize where that decimal placement is. Then I am adding it, because this is an addition problem, to 1 and 64 hundredths. So I'm first going to line up the decimal because that's what matters. Line it up, then fill in the numbers. It's 1/64. There we go. Now we add just like normal. 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus another 1 is 5, and then that 2. And our decimal point just lines on up. So 25 and 49 hundredths would be our answer. Okay, 25, 49 hundredths. Okay, problem number 2. Now we've got our negatives. We're gonna do exactly what we did on that front side. I see two signs next to each other, so I need to clean it up. So I have 7 and 12 hundredths. This turns into just negative or minus. 9 and 92 hundredths. Then I look at my numbers. This is a positive since there's no sign in front of it. This is a negative. I have a positive and a negative, different. So I subtract. And which one is bigger? This one is bigger, the negative. So my answer will be negative. And now we go and line it up. Okay, we're subtracting, that bigger number has to be on top. So let me go to my grid. 9 and 92/100 is the bigger number. So I'm putting that, so I'm putting that on top. And then we're subtracting on this one. So minus 7 and 12/100. Okay. And now we subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. 9 minus 1 is 8. I could go ahead, line that decimal, put it there because I know it lines up. And then 9 minus 7 is 2. All right, there we have our answer. 2, and you can read this as 2 and 80/100. Or remember, that 0 doesn't really need to be there. You can read it as 2 and 8/10. So I'm going to go on over here, write that. But do not forget, please do not forget, we said our answer would be negative. So it's negative. All right, moving on. Number 3, -5 plus 8.37. Now this isn't as straightforward as a normal addition problem because this is negative and this is positive. They are different signs, and different signs means subtract. I go back to my grid so that I can do this. All right. Now again, we're subtracting. The bigger number does need to be on top. So this is the bigger number. This is going on top. So 8.37. Then I'm subtracting 5. Now remember, that decimal has to be lined up. A decimal has to go here, but I don't see a decimal on 5. Well, every whole number has a decimal right after it. So 5 is really 5 decimal. Like that. Okay, and then after the decimal, we can put as many zeros as we need to. So I'm going to fill in my zeros as my placeholders and then go from there. And I'm subtracting, so I'm taking 7 minus 0, 3 minus 0, line up the decimal, 8 minus 5, and there we go, 3 and 37/100. I'm going to write that over here. And I'm checking. I said my answer would be positive. That is positive. All right. I will do one more and then I will have you do the rest. Here we go. Number 4, -18 and 2/10 plus negative, 2 signs next to each other, 10 and 8/10. So clean it up. -18.2, a positive and a negative, makes a negative 10.8. And now I look at my numbers. A negative number, a negative number, they are the same. Same signs, if you need to look back at the front to remind you, same sign means you add and you keep the sign, it's negative. So now we're going to add. I'm going to go back to my grid and we're going to add. Okay, 18.2, and I am adding 10.8. 8 plus 2, oh, that's 10. Carry the 1 over here. Line up the decimal. 8 plus 1 is 9. 1 plus 1 is 2. So that means 29 would be my answer. So I'm going to go back here, 29. I could put the decimal and the 0, but that doesn't change the number. This is 29, so I could just write 29 here, but I need to remember that negative. They are both negative, so I put negative. Okay, you should be able to do these on your own. And the subtracting is exactly the same. These blanks are exactly the same, but I'll fill them in for you. First, write the decimals so that the decimal points line up vertically. And then you subtract using the same rules as subtracting integers, which again is what we did on the front page. Adding and subtracting, we're following the same rules. Then place the decimal point in the answer so that it lines up vertically. Okay. Again, it is exactly the same as what we did up here, so you should be totally fine doing those. We'll check back after you finished so you can check your answer. All right, here are the answers for the rest of the page. You may have noticed that you needed to remember how to borrow. So remember, we could not take 5 minus 8. If you have 5, you cannot take away 8. So we had to borrow, but we could not borrow from 0, so we had to borrow from 5. So we took 1 away from 5, that's why it became 4. This 0, it really did become a 10, but then we had to give 1 away. So it became 9, and it gave 1 away, so this became 15. And then we went from there. 15 minus 8, 9 minus 8, 4 minus 0. Okay, here are the answers to the bottom section. Again, you had to borrow. This one may have tricked you a little bit just because we had to borrow from a lot of people because of all those zeros. But just like we were saying before, you had to borrow from 7. That became 6. The 0 became a 10, but then gave 1 away. So this became a 9. This 0 became a 10, but it gave 1 away, so it became a 9. This one became 10, and then it was done. So it stayed at 10, and then we subtracted. All right, those are our notes for today. You can follow the rest of the instructions on Google Classroom to see what your next assignment is.